What's up, guys? Welcome back to Among the Fins. I am your host, Aaron, and on today's album review, we're going to be checking out the album Proper Dose by the band The Story So Far. And today's review is actually brought to you by a request that was made on a past video, so if you guys got anything you want me to review, new or old, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what it is. I'll throw it up on the whiteboard, and we will make it happen for you. And if you do that, or you just happen to like what you see here, don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell icon. That way you get notified when I do upload videos, especially if you make a request. That way you don't miss out on the review when I upload it. And the story so far about The Story So Far is they are a pop punk band from California. They started about 2007. Their first album came out in 2011, and Proper Dose is their fourth studio album that came out in 2018. So it's been a little while since they came out with the album, about 2 years, but at the same time, it took them about 4 years to get their first LP out anyway, so they do take their time a little bit with music. I gotta say that Proper Dose as a whole and musically doesn't really have a whole lot of shining moments to it. It's just, it does a good job musically. Each song sounds really good, but there's nothing that really stands out to me a whole lot. Like, there's a couple songs that have some kind of cool guitar chord progressions, and the drum work in certain areas are kind of cool, but overall it's fairly basic and plain. Like, it isn't bad, but at the same time it isn't anything like super stellar or anything groundbreaking at all. And at the same time, I'm kind of okay with that, just because this is a more vocal and lyrical driven album. There's a lot more emphasis on the vocals, and just the story and is about Parker Cannon, the vocalist, overcoming his drug addiction to codeine and struggles with touring and overcoming the pain of losing his ex, which was many years ago. And it's just all these things combined, which all added to his addiction, like being on the road and all this stuff, and just a lot of stress, and finally becoming sober and just becoming a better person and working through all these different problems he's had. And the production on Proper Dose is done pretty well also. I really liked how the mix was specific to each song. So, like, I enjoy busier music. I like songs that sound really full. And there's a couple songs on Proper Dose that have that really full sounding, busy, just a lot of stuff going on. And the vocals are placed perfectly. They're not too loud over all the music, and they're not too muffled down to where you can't even hear what he's saying. So you get just the whole sense. You get everything. You get all the music, you get the vocals, everything perfectly. But then you have the slower songs, or even the acoustic songs, where the vocals sit directly on top of everything, so they're front and center. And honestly, that's the way it should be. And I think it's really cool how they're able to mix those two elements together, and they're able to mix them properly. Because sometimes you get an album where it's just mixed the same straight across, and it just doesn't work. When you go from a really high energetic song with really loud music, and the vocals are sitting on top of it, and it just doesn't work. And then you have other things where it's a really slow song and the vocals are sitting too low and you can't hear it over the acoustic guitar. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. That was something I noticed after listening to this, and I kind of enjoyed it quite a bit. And just the fact that I noticed it, I felt like meant something, that they actually took time producing this and mixing it. And the first song on the album is the title track song, Proper Dose, and it really sets the theme for the whole album, and it's probably the most charismatic too out of the entire song. This is probably why it might be my favorite one. And its focus is on Parker's drug addiction and his struggles with touring, and it kind of just encompasses everything that he feels like made him miss out on life, and kind of messed up relationships and things like that. And it's an overall just really good sounding song. Chorus sounds really good. It's got that fun poppy sound to it. It's really catchy, and it does get stuck in your head pretty easily. And then you also have songs like Line and Keep This Up, which are also very addiction focused. And Keep This Up, he talks about how if he keeps this up, he's going to continue to ruin relationships, and he's going to eventually die alone. And in Line, he talks about how he misses the drugs and how it kind of comforts him, and he misses that kind of familiarity of the drug, and how like, he kind of refers to it as a person. Like, he misses having it in his hand, like somebody else holding his hand. And there's a lot of really good metaphors throughout this entire album in terms of like just drug addiction and the struggles that people go through it. And then there's songs like Growing on You, where he even starts to question if he really wants to quit, if he really wants to change and become better, or if he just wants to stick, just keep doing it because it's easy. And the song Take Me As You Please is kind of like an anti-love song. He's been singing about the same breakup and the same girl who hurt him for like 3 albums. He's been singing about that for over the course of like 6 or 7 years or something. He's been writing all of his songs about that. And this is a song where he's basically declaring that he's over it. He's done. He's not going to focus his attention on that anymore. And I really did enjoy the song, but like at first it was kind of awkward because the vocal effect kind of takes away from Parker's voice, but then his voice is so good anyways, and the lyrics are really good to the point where like the vocal effects could have done more harm if his voice wasn't that good, but because it is, it just worked really well. And now that he is over his ex, in the song Upside Down, he talks about how he's struggling with writing songs now. He doesn't have a theme for his song, so he's struggling with being open and vulnerable and writing specifically about himself. And it also talks about how he struggles with touring and how it feels like a lot of his relationships and friendships and things have been just really difficult to deal with touring, which also added to his drug addiction. And then when he does tour, he's singing all these old songs about his ex, and it just reminds him of all of his old baggage he has. And it's a good sounding song overall, but I gotta say, like, even though earlier I said it doesn't really have too many shining moments in this album musically, but the chord progression in this song sounds really, it's hard to hear, but it's really good. I mean, it's got a really solid sound to it. And I had to listen to it a couple of times to try to actually like figure out what it was that was going on, but it's pretty solid. In the song Out of It, Parker talks more about his struggles with touring and his drug addiction, and how falling out of love with touring is kind of what made it happen in the first place. Like, he was so just miserable and over it because he wanted to be home and with his friends and family. And like directly after a show, he'd race off and buy his drugs and get his fix to try and fix the pain that he was in. And I really enjoyed the lyrics in this song because it's kind of like a back and forth conversation between his past addicted self and his now sober self. And it's kind of like good and evil, or like positive and negative thoughts, just kind of battling it out. And I really did enjoy this song too. It's got a really good catchy chorus, but the bridge is freaking fantastic. Another one of my favorite songs on the album is If I Fall, and it's about how Parker is growing as a person. He's maturing, he's become sober, and he's trying to live the best life he can. But he's worried, like kind of in the back of his mind, that if he does happen to fall into old habits, or if he just has a bad day, if his loved ones will still be there for him when he falls. And I really, really love the vulnerability of this song. The music is overall pretty good, but it's just the vocals and the lyrics are straight from the heart. And he's just bleeding out for you, you know? I've known a lot of people who have done drugs and they've come out of it, and I've known a lot of people, again, who haven't. And that's a very big struggle for them, is the relationships. And when they do get sober, they still feel kind of broken in the sense that, like everybody's just waiting for them to mess up again or something, and just the vulnerability of this song and him facing that and singing about it and being very real. And not only that, but expressing it to where these people, his loved ones, can hear this and they can hear his concerns. It's just, I don't know, it hit me pretty good. I enjoyed this one a lot. And the last song on the album, Light Year, which I really love the reference of a light year. It's basically saying that Parker himself and the band, is the story so far, like where they used to be to where they are now, and like how they've grown and matured and overcome the things they've had to overcome. They're so far apart from each other. It's like a light year away. And I really enjoyed that reference a lot. It's got a really good sound to the song. It's probably one of my more favorite sounding songs on the album, especially like musically and just the pacing overall. And I really enjoy how upbeat this song is. This whole album is very, even though it talks about some really dark things, it's very upbeat and it's very positive, and it's a change from the story so far, because the past 3 albums have just been so negative. And like I said, he's just been singing about all the hurt and his ex-girlfriend and all these things, and now he's coming out of that. And this is like his album where he's just like leaving it all behind him, and he's moving on, and he's done with all that stuff. And Lightyear is the perfect closing song for that. Like I said, it's just so upbeat and it's so uplifting, and it ends on a high note, which I also enjoyed quite a bit. There's a lot of bands out there that go through these things, but then when they sing about it, it's kind of in like a self-destructive kind of way. Like they're still hooked on their ex. Like, I'm so horrible and I suck, so of course she left me, and I'm on all these drugs and life sucks, and that's why I was on them. But like, he's focused on moving on, a better life, and working out his relationships, and everything's gonna work out. And yeah, I enjoyed this whole album as a whole, and the songs are really good. Overall sound, like I said, is fantastic. There's no like really stellar parts. The drum work does have some shiny moments in it, but nothing like overly fantastic that really steals the show, especially from the vocals and the lyrics. I gotta admit that I'm not normally all that much into pop punk, especially when the music is so kind of dulled down. And I think the reason for that is because the lyrics are usually so just cheap and superficial, and there's not a whole lot of depth to them. But Proper Dose was done so perfect. I mean, everything was right with it. Like, the music wasn't that great, but at the same time, the lyrics took over, and that's kind of rare for an album in this genre. So with all that said, I gotta give Proper Dose, by the story so far, a solid 8 out of 10. I also really enjoyed the metaphors in the lyrics. I had to actually like sit down and think about what Parker was trying to say. What does he mean when he's saying this certain thing? Is he referring to X? Is he referring to drugs? Like, what is it that you're trying to tell me here, Parker? What are you trying to say? And I really enjoyed that part to it. It wasn't just so straightforward. I really enjoy music that has metaphors in it, or at least things that tell more of a story instead of just getting straight to the point, in the sense. Like, I don't like to be spoon-fed the meaning of songs. But I want to know what you guys think. If you've listened to Proper Dose, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of the album. If you haven't, go ahead and give it a listen, at least a couple of the songs that I mentioned, and let me know what you would rate it. And if you enjoyed this review, feel free to give it a like, and if you didn't, go ahead and give it a dislike, but let me know why. Let me know why you think this album is the greatest thing you've ever heard, or why you think it absolutely sucks, or maybe you think just my review in general sucks. Go ahead and let me have it. I'm giving you my opinion on this album, so I'd like to hear your opinion too. And if you enjoy my videos, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on any of my future uploads. Doing any of these things helps me out tremendously. Subscribing, liking, commenting, even if you just stop by to tell me I suck and I have no clue what I'm talking about. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch my video and let me know your opinion. I appreciate it more than you guys could ever imagine. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are all staying safe, and I will talk to you next time. I was